last year.
No, we didn't do graph. It was just like,
That was one of the units. That's one of the dirty units, yeah.
yeah.
All right, well, we gotta do it. We're gonna do a lot of it now because I'm with the grade 11s right now. We're doing inequalities, which is graphing a line, which is what you're gonna learn next week. And they are having a horrible time with it. So we didn't do something right last year. So we're gonna fix that in this class. Okay, first things first. The slope is how steep a line goes up or down. That's essentially what it is. Now, mathematically speaking, the slope is found by taking the amount of rise, how fast it goes up, versus how fast it goes left or right. So your slope is your rise over your run. Now, on a graph, on a grid, which axis represents up and down and which axis represents left and right?
Axis left and right, Y is up.
X is there, Y is there. Totally agree with that. All right. So then the rise is the change in the Y value. So the rise is the change in your Y value because we're talking about how fast it goes up or down. How fast it goes left or right is your X. Again, you need to write all of it. If it's on the board, write it down. Okay? Now, that little triangle, does anybody know what that's called? No? That's called delta. It's a Greek letter, but what it's used to signify in math and science is change. It means the change in the Y over the change in the X. So how do you represent change in Y? You take Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So what you're doing is you're taking the second Y and subtracting the first Y to find out change. When we work on science, we call that final minus initial. Your final spot minus your initial spot. Your final velocity minus your initial velocity. That's what that means. So we do Y2 minus Y1 over X2 subtract X1. Now the slope can be found on any line by taking two coordinates, any two on that line, and finding the change in the Y over the change in the X. Okay? And how steep it moves, we will talk about in a second. All right, so the next part of this is when given, okay, actually let's do it the easier way first. I'll go to here, I'm going to go Y equals 3x plus 2. I don't know what that. Okay. All right. All right, so I've identified two coordinates on this line, and I want to find out how steep that line is. I want to find the slope of that line. So the first coordinate I have is 0 and 3. The second coordinate I have is -1 and 0. And I want to find out what the slope is of that line. So what I'm going to do, and this is what I would suggest you do each time to make this make sense and make it as easy as possible. The first thing I do is on my page is I write this out to begin with. So that I can see this all the time. So I have Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. All right, the first coordinate I had was 0 and 3. The second coordinate I had was -1 and 0. All right. Before I go any further, there's actually a real simple way of doing this when I have the graph presented in front of me. And that is count it. Let's count. Let's find out how much, what it takes. So what you're doing right now is you're telling somebody, how do you go from 0, 3 to -1 and 0? So it's like me saying to you right now, how do I get from the high school to the fire hall? Well, you would say you go up towards the hospital, so maybe to the north 2 blocks, and then you would go east another 3 blocks, let's say. That's what you would say to somebody that was wondering, how do I get instructions? You're going to tell me, using the up, down first, how do I go from 0, 3 to -1 and 0? So all you need to do when you're given the graph is count it. Down 1, down 2, down 3. Now here's the catch. How do I show down 3? That's exactly right. So it's -3. And then how do I go, where do I go from there? So I go down 3, it takes me to 0 and 0. Now which way do I go to get to the -1?
Left one.
Left 1.
-1.
So I'm also going to put a -1 here.
Why -3?
All right. Now, here's a tidbit of information. If you're going up, it's positive. If you're going down, the rise is negative. If you're going right, it's positive. If you're going left, it's negative. Now think about how a grid works. Looking at this, where's my positives and negatives? Well, all of these values right here are positive. All these values over here are negative. Up here, positive. Down here, negative. Right? So when I'm looking at the slope, if it's up, it's positive. If it's down, it's negative. If it's right, it's positive. If it's left, it's negative. So what is the slope of this, of that line? -3 over -1. We can also write that as a reduced fraction of 3 over 1. It means the same thing. Now, if I were describing to somebody, how do I go from -1, 0 to 0, 3? How do I go from here to here? Well, the rise is what? Up, 1, 2, 3, and right 1. Yes? So the slope then is up 3, right 1. So far, so good? All you need to do, if you don't know how to use this equation that I'm going to show you right now, then just graph it and count. Put it on a graph and count.
Hey, Mrs. Dearman,
That's all you
call
gotta do.
15,000. Mrs. Dearman, call 15,000.
Once you get to that answer on like our test or whatever, would you want us to like put it into our calculator and do? Well, I guess that one would just be 3, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't, no, we want to leave it as a fraction. You want to leave your slope as a fraction every time because it is a rise over run. So even though there's a 1 on the bottom and it's not necessary, you want to leave it there because that tells me that I got to go right 1. All right? Okay. Now, using the equation without graphing, here is what I suggest you do. Identify one of these coordinates as x1, y1, and one of these coordinates is x2, y2. Now the x1 and the y1 have to be in the same brackets, and the y1, so the x2 and the y2 have to be in the same brackets. So here's what I do. I'm going to make this one x1, y1, and this one x2, y2, like that. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow through this right here. Y2 subtract Y1. Well, what is Y2?
0.
0. What is Y1? 3. I just line them up. That's why I write it out like this. I line them up. Okay? What is X2? For me?
Negative minus 1.
Minus 1. And what is X1?
0.
0. So what do I have? 0 subtract 3
Minus 3.
minus 3 over negative 1. Is that the same slope I got when I counted? Yeah. How are we doing so far? Okay. All right. So the first thing that they're going to do today, all right, well, let's just take a look at the top of page 130 for a second. A positive slope. A positive slope is when a graph goes from low left to high right. That means it's increasing. So what in grade 12 we talk about increasing and decreasing. Increasing means that when X is getting larger, Y is also getting larger. So it moves up this way. That's a positive slope. Kind of what we have here. Secondly, a negative slope means that when X is getting larger, the Y is getting smaller. So you can see that on the second graph. A slope is 0 is a horizontal graph. That means the line goes horizontally. That's a slope of 0. That one's unique. Okay? So write this down somewhere. Horizontal line. The slope is, now think about this for a second. If you look at that line going straight across as it is, if you look at the line going straight across as it is, what is the rise on that line?
0.
It's 0, right? It is 0 over 1 or 0 over 100. It doesn't matter because it's 0 divided by a number, which just is 0. So for a horizontal line, your slope is 0. For a vertical line, the slope is undefined. Now, why is that? Well, it goes up or down, so that rise could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 million, whatever. But it doesn't go left or right, does it? So what does that mean about your run? What is your run value?
0.
0. And if I take any fraction and I put 0 on the bottom of it, what happens? There you go. What does that equal?
0.
No, it doesn't. Punch it into your calculator.
Nothing.
Not there.
What do you get?
Can't be.
Error. You get an error. You cannot divide anything by 0, so what we call that is undefined in math. Anytime you have 0 in the denominator of a fraction, 0 in the denominator of the fraction, it's undefined. Okay? All right. So that's for a vertical line, the one that goes up and down. This is horizontal, left or right. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take, what we're going to start with is we're going to start with points. We're going to find the slope between two coordinates, and then I'm going to show you how to do it if you don't understand the equation, how you can graph it and count and find the same thing. Okay, so A is -4 and 1. B is 1 and 6. Now, nobody's asked a question yet, So I'm going to answer it before you ask it. It doesn't matter which one of the coordinates you make x2, y2, and x1, y1. It doesn't matter. So you can do it whichever way you want. But what we do have to make sure is that the x1 and the y1 are in the same brackets. Okay? All right. So again, here's what I suggest. x1, y1. x2, y2. Okay. Slope equals. All right. What is my y2? If I write it out like this, my y2 is what?
6.
Y2 is 6. What's my y1?
1.
1. My x2 is?
1.
1. My y2 is?
4 minus 1.
Minus 4 equals. Got this so far? Okay. 6 subtract 1. 5. 1 subtract negative 4. Also 5. Slope of this one, 1 over 1. Questions?
Why do you convert the 1 to minus?
Convert what, sir?
The 1 to minus. Like in minus 4, 1. Why is it minus? Not plus.
That's because that's the point that's given to you in the book.
Oh.
It's on the top of the next page. Okay, let's do this again. 3, 5. 6, negative 3. Okay, what is y2? Sorry?
Oh, sorry.
Negative 3. What's y1? 5. x2? 6. x1? 3. Slope is negative 8 over 3. So if you were to tell somebody, how do you go from one point to the next using that slope? What are you going to tell them?
8 down, 3 right.
Awesome. 8 down, 3 to the right. That's your slope. Okay. Great work so far. Let's do one more, and then I'm going to go to Desmos. So I've got negative 3, negative 4. And 4, negative 4. Okay, what is y2?
Minus 4.
Negative 4. Subtract y1, which is
Minus 4.
also minus 4. x2 is 4. y2 is negative 3. So, what kind of line am I looking at here? Very good. Very good. The slope of this graph is 0, which means it doesn't go up or down, but it does go left or right. That is a horizontal line. So far, so good? All right. So here's what I can do here now. All right. Bracket. What do I have? Negative 4, 1. Label that guy. And then I want 1 and 6. And label him. Okay. So when I did this question, I think I made negative 4 and 1, x1, y1, right? So you're going to tell me, how do I go from here to there? And you always start with the rise. So all I need to do is count. So which way am I going to go first? Up. And how much am I going to go up?
2.5. 2.
What is it?
5.
5. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here. And then where do I go from there?
5 right.
5 right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 right. 5 over 5. 1 over 1. That's your solution. Okay? So you can graph it, you can draw it. You can, it makes it easier if you draw a line through here. So let me just show you this guy again, right here. So I'm going to draw this out, and I will show you what I think might make life simpler. What is that? Negative 4 and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. 1, 5, 6. 1 and 6 is about right here. Okay. So I have a line that I draw through here. And then what I can do, what makes this quite a bit simpler, is do this. Draw that out, and then I know I've got to go up 5 here to get to there, and then 5 over to here to get to there. Therefore, 5 over 5 is your slope. Okay, so today, all you're doing is working on slopes. That's it. When we get going, so then that finishes up this chapter actually. So we'll finish up the review and stuff this week. But then when we get into next week, we start doing graphs with equations and slopes, slope-intercept, point form, and general form of equations. So we do all of that, but we have to understand slope before we get into any of it.
Are we gonna have a test for 6 or are we combining?
No, we'll test on 6. Or we'll do at least one assessment on 6. I don't know if it'll be a test or an assignment, but we'll figure that out over the next 2 days. Okay? All right. You were to finish up that last section there on 6.4. It sounded like everybody was moving through that pretty well yesterday. I don't think there's any trouble. Okay. You have the rest of the class today to work on that 6.5.